Hello everybody, I'm Ginés Sanchez. I am Operation and Strategy Manager of ChromaWay, and here I am with Or Perman, CEO of ChromaWay, and we are gonna talk a little bit about some business part of Chromapolis. I'm gonna start with the most repeated question from our audience. When Lambo? When are we going to the moon?
Well, some of my answers to that, I mean, we are really all working on our technology. We are making sure that every word in the white paper will get done. So we are working hard on our testnet, on applications, on mainnet, and literally every piece of the technology. So hopefully we can go to the moon. and we hope that it will be arriving soon.
All right. Let's talk about your background. Who are you? When did you start?
So my name is Or. As Ginés previously said, I'm one of the co-founders of ChromaWay and Chromapolis. I started really early back in 2011, but before that, I used to work at my family-owned company, Chemipal Ltd, which is one of the biggest pharma distribution company in Israel today in the marketing division. I also finished a LLB law in Dubai, legal degree in Dubai. So in 2011, I discovered Bitcoin. I dropped everything to do that. I co-founded a very early wallet, which was called SafeBit, which had a few thousand of users back in the day. Stephen Thomas, apparently recently as well, was a part of Ripple CTO, was part of our team. So we had a very good team then. It was also a very user-friendly wallet, so I think it was literally the first ever user-friendly wallet before Coinbase and blockchain info appeared. In 2011, I discovered Color Coins. I saw this cool video, which is still online, and I asked my colleague Manny, who is the head of the chairman of the Bitcoin Association in Israel, hey, who is doing that stuff? Introduced me to Alex, and Alex introduced me to Henrik, and since then we are working together. Firstly, on the Color Coins protocol, we worked and led that project for 2 years, and then it got split to a couple of companies. One of the companies is ours, which is ChromaWay. Since day one, we had the vision of being an infrastructure for decentralized applications in enterprise applications. So as you can see, most of my adult life been in Bitcoin because I had to do also 3 years of army as well between when I was 18 to 21. So most of my real life job was in full time in Bitcoin or crypto in general. So that's a little bit about me.
So, and what's your role now in Chromapolis and in ChromaWay in general?
I'm the CEO, the Chief Operation Officer, making sure that everything is getting done on track. The whiteboard of stuff like every young startup should do and its founders. So I'm helping a little bit of out of everything, basically.
So when did you really meet Alex and Henrik?
I got to know them in 2012 from an introduction by Manny Rosenfeld. Introduced me to Alex, which introduced me to Henrik, and since then we are working together.
So let's talk a bit about Chromapolis now. So what's the general idea behind Chromapolis?
So the general idea behind Chromapolis is to combine basically relational databases that exist in every kind of organization with blockchains. So we saw a big gap in public chain development where you couldn't do simple database features. You couldn't host any data on chain. Basically, whatever is being done now is when you set up a decentralized application, it's not really decentralized. So Chromapolis is all about changing this stuff. It's providing a real true decentralized native permissionless platform that you'll be able to develop a decentralized application in a very secured way.
So and then what would you say that it's the final goal of Chromapolis? What do we want to achieve?
Being the infrastructure of any kind of decentralized application.
So what's different? You talk about a relational database, but is it the main difference here in Chromopolis, or there is another big difference on this aspect?
Well, the way that I see it, there are a couple of big differences between other platforms. In any other platform, you can't host any complex logic on chain. You cannot simply do that, because on any other kind of platform, you just issue a token basically, and the other stuff sits on a database, or they cache the data to IPFS or whatever it is. So that certainly doesn't exist. So we are offering a new way to host that application in a decentralized way and in a secured way. And I think that will empower the real to decentralized applications as they should be. Because, for example, today's situation is when you actually build a decentralized application, and once the server goes down, it's still controlled by the same company. Once the server goes down, then the asset can go down as well with the server, and then you are only left with a useless, basically, token, which is useless, like besides trading that. So it's not really immutable. In order for that to be really immutable and decentralized, even for the asset itself, or the NFT or whatever it is, the whole server also and the logic of that should be on chain. The other key aspects of what we are doing basically is that you can have the ability to index data automatically. You can query data automatically, and it can be done everything on chain. You don't need any kind of tools like the graph that you need another coin, and you need to learn another language. You need to learn two languages, which is Solidity, the graph, and somehow use it with the graph coin or whatever it is. Here it's done automatically on the ledger, and you don't need anything to do that. And it's very efficient to a developer that wants to develop a decentralized application. We have a very specified language as well, which is rather unique because it's similar to SQL, but it's not. It's 10 times better. It's based on relational programming, and any kind of developer can pick it up because it's very, very simple. Even I could understand the code, and I am not a developer. Besides that, we have other features. For example, like the end user doesn't have to pay the fees. Only the DApp developer for the application as a whole. Which is not the same as Ethereum. For example, in the Ethereum chain, you have to pay an transaction, basically a gas fee. We use a mechanism that is called sidechain, and the main chain, and each sidechain has its own kind of application, rather than 1,000 applications for one sidechain or one mainnet.
So you talked about fees, that the user don't need to pay fees. What does it mean? What's the level of freedom that you could have when building a decentralized application on Chromopolis that's different between Ethereum, where you have to pay for every single transaction? What's the difference here?
It's up to the developer to decide the amount of fees he wants to pay.
But I mean the level of freedom that a developer have, or developers will have.
It can customize its own fees.
Exactly. So this is not possible with any other platform.
Correct.
So far, right?
Correct.
So developer could have or will be able to run a freemium game, right?
Correct.
And what's the target market for Chromopolis? Who are we talking?
It's a generic DApp platform. It's a very general purpose. But our target market is games, because we think we can easily come to market with games. For example, a game can be tested very, very fast. It's a hit or not. When you have, for example, a trade finance application or a listed application, you still have to go over those A cycles. With games, you go directly to the end users, and you can know if it's a good game or not in a very, very easy way. So therefore, you won't need those long sales cycles. And you can actually prove with a game, because it's a very complex thing to do on the blockchain. you can actually prove that that's how our platform can work, and that's how our platform works better.
And why do we need the tokens? Why do we need Chroma tokens running on Chromopolis?
Well, for a couple of reasons. As a hosting fee, similar to its style, but again, it's different than what it is, because only the developer needs to pay the fee, and for staking reasons.
And Chroma tokens are an ERC20 tokens or not?
So the Chroma tokens are, yes, they are ERC20 tokens, but pegged to a native token.
So then it's a native token with a gate
Correct.
to a ERC20 token.
Yeah, it's a Chroma token with a gate to ERC20 token.
And is it there is a fixed number of tokens, or there is some kind of inflation?
No, there is no inflation. There is only a fixed number of tokens of 1 billion tokens.
1 billion token. Okay. So where is Chromopolis registered?
So Chromopolis is registered in Estonia. Chromopolis Dev Center OU, which is a fully subsidized company by Chromaway AB.
And did Chromopolis have a KYC for raising the funds?
Of course, we used the KYC application, which is called Verif, and we didn't store any documents as well.
And who were the auditors of the whole process?
PwC were the auditors of our process.
What was the price of the token?
The base price was 0.10 cents, and the discounted price was 0.7 to 0.75.
And do the investors have like a vesting period?
Yes, of course, they have a vesting period. 40% is getting unlocked on the first day. Then it's getting unlocked in a monthly basis up until 6 months.
When is Chromopolis gonna be listed in exchanges?
When mainnet will be released.
So after mainnet,
correct,
could we say? So thank you very much, Or, for your time. I hope you enjoy discussing this Chromopolis stuff here with me.
My pleasure. I did.